del distrito, a representantes de la oficina del fiscal del distrito de Montgomery County, aspectos que tienen que ver con el ejercicio de la ley, la justicia, pero para nosotros como comunidad entender y educarnos al respecto. Esta entrevista va a ser en inglés y vamos a intentar durante la semana y durante los siguientes días tener algunos puntos en español. Así que acompáñenos. El día de hoy tenemos como invitados. Therefore, this interview will be in English. And today we have two representatives from the District Attorney Office of Montgomery County. We have Jasmine Flanagan, who is Chief Juvenile Division. Welcome.
Thank you so
Jasmine.
much. Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And also we have the Assistant District Attorney, Jodiah Grobstein, who is captain in the Norristown Community Justice Unit. Thank you so much to both of you for being with us today, for visiting us here at Secate, for visiting us here at Dialogos of the Immigrant Village and Organize Mobilize. These are the podcasts. And this is, if I am right, this is the 61 episode.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. And today we'll have a conversation for us first to understand what is a district attorney office and what does in the county. Anyone who would like to start?
You want to get started and I can talk about juvenile?
Sure,
All
sure. Okay. So the Office of the District Attorney is so Kevin Steele is the District Attorney here in Montgomery County, and he is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for the county. And so his job is to work with all the police chiefs across across the whole county, including right here in Norristown, to make sure that we are keeping people safe and to make sure that the laws are enforced.
Therefore, in the role, if there is a crime, is the duty of the attorney office to prosecute, to investigate. What in I will say in the understanding of the community can be the work that they do.
Yeah. So it's a great question. So our job is not the investigations part.
Okay.
So Yasmin and I are so I'm an assistant district attorney. Yasmin is a deputy district attorney, and our job is to take the cases once they've been investigated by the police and by the detectives. Sometimes we get involved a little bit earlier on in the process, and I think we'll get into how different cases the DA's office can take on a little bit of a different role depending on the particular kind of case. But in general, the police are going to be in charge of investigating the cases and charging the cases. And then when they come up here to the DA's office, we're in charge of prosecuting those cases and trying to resolve them.
And then prosecute it in the courts or prosecute it within the law.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And when we receive the cases, as Jediah was saying, from the police, it's our responsibility to look at the charges and evaluate the case and make sure that we have the evidence that goes to each one of those charges to make sure we can prove it. So we evaluate the case that way, make sure the evidence exists, and then we go forward in the process. So we make offers on cases, and then we take it to court. So for trial, or sometimes people admit, so that they, in juvenile court, it's called an admission, in adult plead guilty. So that's also part of the process. But yeah, in the court we have trials and sentencing up from start to finish.
Therefore, that is very important for the people to know, because many times when we talk about police, law enforcement, when we talk about prosecution, we don't distinguish. Then here we have, this is Montgomery County. What is the relationship, for example, with the local police municipality? is their investigation and then it comes to the county, or how it works, that dynamic?
So that's absolutely right. So I'll talk particularly about the Norristown Community Justice Unit. Okay, so we work extremely closely with the Norristown Police Department. We employ what's called a vertical prosecution, which means that we try to get involved in cases as early as we can, because there are some cases that are so, for example, our cases involving gun violence. Those are cases that the district attorney in our office takes unbelievably seriously. The safety of the community is the top priority in those cases. And there are other kinds of cases that are going to be more appropriate for a diversionary court, or for trying to bring community services to the resolution of the case. So we're going to work really closely with the Norristown Police Department. We're going to help them charge cases, whether that means by helping get a search warrant approved, or by talking about whether a felony charge or a misdemeanor charge might be more appropriate in a particular case. And then once the case gets charged and brought up here to the big courthouse, then we're going to continue working with our local law enforcement officers at our Norristown cops, either the detectives or the patrol officers, to make sure that we get the right result on the case. So it really is very much a back and forth. We spend a huge amount. I spend a huge amount of my time working with the Norristown Police Department to find the right balance between how we're gonna resolve the case.
Okay, therefore, because you are Norristown unit, therefore that means that the county has units for each of the 62 municipalities, or are divided in?
So Norristown is special.
Norristown is special.
Norristown is special. So the office is divided up into several different divisions. Yasmin is in charge of our juvenile division.
Okay.
I'm a part of our trials division, and then within the trials division, we have a firearms unit, which focuses on firearms crimes. We have a family protection unit, which focuses on sex crimes or crimes with child victims. And then we have two special units called community justice units. Okay? So we have Pottstown Community Justice Unit, and then we have the Norristown Community Justice Unit. And those are two specific communities that we have found a lot of success by really getting involved deeply with those communities, and focusing on how we can deal with crime coming out of those communities.
And that is important, I think, for the community to understand. And here is when it comes a question that even for me sometimes can be confusing. When crime happens at local level, that's right? Crime happens at local level. And therefore people ask many times, what is the difference between local law enforcement, DA, no, state, and federal, no? Right. You are mostly at the county level, no? When something happens locally that is investigated by the municipality, when it becomes county, or when it jumps to another level?
I think it's a good question too, because as Jediah was just going over, working with local law enforcement in the municipalities throughout Montgomery County, the district attorney also employs his own detective bureau. So our office, he employs the Montgomery County Detective Bureau, and he appoints a chief of the Detective Bureau, and that's Chief Mark Bernsteel. So he's the chief of county detectives. So they go out for all homicide cases that occur in Montgomery County. So they will go out, the entire Detective Bureau that's assigned to their homicide unit goes out to investigate all homicides. That includes the forensic team. and they work with the local municipality, local jurisdiction where that crime occurs in investigating and solving that crime. So that's local in terms of local jurisdiction, and then our detective bureau. In terms of federal cases, those are when federal law is violated. Those will be federal cases, or sometimes when crimes cross state lines. That's something that the federal government will investigate and pick up some of those cases. And also they can help out on more complex matters. They can help local governments with some of the more complex cases. They have the resources and sometimes specialized teams to kind of help out local law enforcement. So we, in large part, work together with the local jurisdictions and local police departments, and they can also help, they can ask our detective bureau to help out on complex cases or where they might need assistance, and we've definitely helped facilitate that throughout the county as well.
One of the always to talk about safety, crime, is something that as communities we listen, no? We listen, especially in moments in which we feel certain anxiety, certain unsafety or insecurity because we listen that there has been some violence on the streets. I will say, for example, in Norristown, just recently, unfortunately, a month ago, a little bit more, we have the sad situation of the fighting of two teenagers or a group of teenagers, and unfortunately, one young man died by a gunfire. I am talking about the case of Alex Herrera, who has been detained, no, and in the podcast that day, I asked to exercise empathy to the family of Javon Oyola, to the family of Alex Herrera, two teenagers. For both families, a tremendous loss. For one, unfortunately, Javon passed away. Alex, we know, is detained. And in the latest information that we got, Alex might be judged as an adult, not as a juvenile. And people has been asking me how that decision happened, when a juvenile can be judged as an adult. What are the things? And it's important because on one hand, we need to understand the law, and on the other hand, we can clear the air from the questions that the people might have. Any word on that, Jasmine?
Sure. Yes, so Alex Herrera, he's charged with first-degree murder. Murder cases, first degree, second degree, third degree, those cases automatically initiate an adult court. That's by statute, that's where they begin. There's a mechanism in the law for their defense attorney to file a motion to move their case from adult court to juvenile court, and that will be a judge who will make the decision on that motion should his attorney bring that motion. But by statute, all of those cases, all murder cases, begin in adult court.
That is so important to know, Jasmine, because we ignore many times. Mm-hmm. And we don't know those details. And that understanding is, for me, as a journalist, I always learn. I always discover new knowledge. And that is so important for our community to understand that every murder case, what you say, start as a first degree, it goes into adult, and then it has to be submitted a petition that might be accepted or not. That is paraphrasing. Do I understand fine? Yeah?
Yes, you understand. Okay. Yes, and in this case, it's a very serious first degree murder case, and it initiates in adult court as any other murder case would.
And this is very important, and we'll try that our community, the Latino community, because this is in English, to communicate the transcript as it is, because there has been that question, no? There has been that question in the community, and I think this clarifies. This clarifies because the law is clear on this, and that is very important. And also the community, the community many times feel refrain to denounce crime that they might see or suffer because implications that can drive towards sometimes immigration. And then there are times in which people do not denounce things. What is your recommendation in that?
Just so can I just ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So are you talking about people who might make a decision about whether or not to call 911 because they're concerned about, hey, I'm not sure that I want to get involved with this?
Yeah.
So here in Norristown, in particular, we see this circumstance, and it comes for all sorts of reasons. Okay, so some people see something, right, or even and say, "Hey, look, I don't want to get involved. It's not my business. I'm just gonna walk away." Other people are frightened of getting involved. If I get involved, is somebody going to start pointing fingers at me? Is somebody going to come after me? Or even if I get involved, will I open myself up and somebody will start investigating me or looking into me for something that's going on in my life? And that is it's an issue that we wrestle with all the time. Okay. It is at the heart of what Yasmin and I do, right? Which is to get justice. To get justice means we need truth tellers. We need people who pick up the phone and make that call. We need people who will raise their hand and be a truth teller and say, "Hey, I saw something and I know that wasn't right." Okay, and when they do that, we will do everything in our power to make sure that person is safe. Okay, when our people come in and they say, "Look, I'm going to be a witness. I'm gonna say that something went wrong here," then we are going to move heaven and earth to make sure that those people are safe. And it's just we can't do our jobs without the people who are willing to be truth tellers and say that something is wrong.
I think, Jodaya, what you have mentioned, I think answers some of the questions that the people. I want to tell you that when I will have these interviews, usually I share to the audience. No, I am receiving these visits, and then people contact me, make questions. No, and one of the questions that you just answer. No, people who says, "How safe is for me to come up, perhaps as a witness, to come up with a testimony of something that I saw, but I am afraid to get involved." And I think you just answer, no? Justice is what you want to see, but at the same time, to handle with care.
100%.
Yeah.
Justice is our main focus as prosecutors, and that means many things. Of paramount importance is keeping the community safe, giving victims a voice in the courtroom. Through us is how we can tell the community, tell the court what happened to crime victims. We have a responsibility also to the people accused of crime. That's one of the unique things about being a prosecutor and what doing justice actually means. We have to ensure, and it's our job to make sure criminal trials are fair and that all witnesses and that everyone that we put forth in court is protected. It's really our job to protect everyone, and we take it very seriously.
And one of the advices, questions for parents, for caregivers, for young people, what is something that you would like to share to the community? What would be a message that you would like to give to them in all this process, in all this situation?
Education is extremely important. I think what you're doing here and giving the community an outlet, giving young people a place to come and read and learn about art and science and so many other opportunities that they have, and staying on a path that's going to produce good in their lives later on down the line. That's a lot of what the juvenile justice system is about. We have a completely separate court system than adult that's geared towards supervision, treatment, and rehabilitation. That's really what the juvenile court system is about. We're interested in creating productive members of society, and we do that with programs, diversionary programs, in-court programs, and a judge oversees. There's mental health components to make sure that the juveniles get everything that they need to be more productive members of society. So if a juvenile was to find themselves court involved in Montgomery County, I would say for sure that we take that seriously, the rehabilitative nature of juvenile court. That's why it's different. And of course, we focus on community safety there just the same as we do in adult court, and imposition of accountability for offenses. But it's a holistic approach in juvenile court.
And I think you touch important things here, Jasmine, because there is a difference between juvenile and adults.
Yeah.
How, if you can summarize, Jodiah and Jasmine, what are the rights that victims and defendants has? What are the rights that they have?
So, as Yasmin put it just a moment ago, our district attorney, Kevin Steele, emphasizes to us that that as prosecutors, that our position is unique, because our job is to make sure that that everybody who's involved, that everybody gets justice. Okay, that the process is fair for everybody who's involved. So that that means our victims, who deserve and are afforded the opportunity to be involved at each of the essential steps in the process, from the beginning, from the preliminary hearing, through the ultimate resolution of the case. The legislature has particularly set aside opportunities for them to give victim impact at the time of a sentencing, and to be in court when when the defendant or when the perpetrator is sentenced, and to tell the court what that means to them. Our relationship with the victim is unique, and it is one of the most important parts of what I see as my job as a prosecutor. But it also means affording the defendant their rights too. And so that means discovery obligations. It means we don't hide evidence. We don't hide favorable evidence. We don't hide unfavorable evidence. All the evidence goes out there. There isn't any jury trial by surprise. Okay. It means that that we are in communication with their attorneys, and we make sure that all of their rights are afforded and protected as well. So it really is, from my perspective, is a unique position to sort of sit in.
No, thank you. All this is very important to us. Now we know that Montgomery County is a big county, 62 municipalities. That the work that you do is very important to keep safety in town, to keep safety in the county, and to be sure that the rights of everyone are respected. And I will say that the final thing to do is, when people do not know what happened with a case, that perhaps it becomes like an unsolved case. What is how proceed an attorney? Is ever an envelope closed? Is ever a case closed? Or this continue being open regardless the years that has been open? How that works?
Yeah, so our district attorney in Montgomery County, Kevin Steele, puts great emphasis on cases. For homicides, for example, we have a 96% homicide clearance rate in Montgomery County. The national average clearance rate, according to FBI statistics, is somewhere in the 60-ish, 62 or 5-ish% range. There have been 2, I believe. I think I jotted down some notes here about homicide. 2 unsolved recent murders. One of them was solved. It was a 2011 murder. I believe it was, right, Jediah? 2011 murder was solved, and the perpetrator was arrested in 2016. And there is, I believe, don't quote me on this, one other.
Yeah, I think it was a 2012 case that ultimately came back in 2019. It's my recollection. And those, as I remember, were Norristown cases.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the DA's office and local prosecutors or the local police and county detectives never gave up on those cases and worked those cases very hard.
They can still be investigated, and there's emphasis put on giving closure, if they're victim cases to victims.
Of course.
I know that the Detective Bureau and local law enforcement will stay in contact with those victims and give them updates to the extent that they can. So we don't intend to ever leave a case forgotten. We work, the Detective Bureau and local law enforcement put emphasis on those cases to try to solve as many as humanly possible.
100%.
Thank you, and thank you for the time that you have given us today.
Sure.
For sharing with the community, and for approaching these important topics here in Dialogues of the Immigrant Village and also in Organized Mobilize. We have been approaching and attending different topics, different themes at different levels: law, education, housing, you name it. No? And it was so important. A few weeks ago, we had here Chief Trail, Michael Trail, and also Rosie Calderon, and they were able also to talk about the police service public here in Norristown. Therefore, I want to give thanks to Jasmine Flanagan, Deputy District Attorney, Chief Juvenile Division, for being with us today. Any final word from your side?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. The facility you have here is beautiful. So much lovely artwork. We really appreciated the tour, and I hope that the community is able to have a better understanding about the District Attorney's Office in Montgomery County and our role as prosecutors and to do justice.
Then, can people connect to your office directly, or what will be the best way to connect?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So there are phone numbers here for the Office of the District Attorney. Particularly for our Norristown residents, the Norristown Police Department and the Office of the District Attorney on our website. It is easy to reach out and get in connect.
Okay, that's fantastic. And also here we have, thank you, Jasmine.
Yes.
And also here we have Assistant District Attorney Jediah Grobstein and Captain Norristown Community Justice Unit. Any final word, Jediah?
We so appreciated getting a chance to speak with you and talk to all your listeners and your audience today.
Thank you so much. Y pues así nos despedimos de este episodio de Diálogos de la Villa Inmigrante. Soy su amigo Obed Arango y les saludamos en esta tarde de viernes. Nos escuchamos la siguiente semana, así que síganos por Spotify, por YouTube y por Facebook. Hasta la próxima.